for it.
My name is Bob Zupnik, or Robert. Bob, I moved to the Shaker schools, to Shaker Heights, I should say, in 1933, when my family moved from the city up to the suburbs. In the middle of a depression, my father was a dentist, and we managed to move to Shaker Heights in 1933.
You know, you sang something for me on the phone that I was hoping you would sing again. You knew all the words to the fight song when you went to Shaker Heights.
Yeah, the Shaker anthem, I sure do.
Could you sing it for me again?
I sure will. I've been singing it to myself all day, practicing.
Okay, I'm ready.
Shaker High School, you're the right school, finest in the land. You will have our love as long as Shaker High will stand. Rah, 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 up the red and white, our colors proudly may they fly. May we all be worthy of our Shaker High. I love it.
That was fantastic. You obviously, by the time you came to Shaker, you must already have been playing your oboe.
I had. I started the oboe by accident in the 7th grade. I was a violin student. Oh, I was at the Cleveland Institute of Music in what I think is their second year, 1926. Had a wonderful mother who started me on the violin in 1926 when I was 8 years old, September 26th. September 26, 1926, happened to be the same date as my wife's birthday, September 20. My wife also played violin, and a strange thing, the two of us studied with the same teacher at the same time, but I didn't really know her. A lovely lady who married one of the faculty members, an older man, Quincy Porter. Quincy Porter, shortly thereafter, accepted a position with Yale University, and he left Cleveland and took his lovely wife with him. So we changed. I don't know what happened to Helene. I didn't really know her. I just knew who she was. I went to a different teacher, a man who was a member of the Cleveland Orchestra and a member of the Institute. In fact, the Institute in 1926, by the way, was a little bit primitive, so to speak, compared. They only had violin, piano, a little bit of cello, a little bit of voice. I don't think they had any wind instrument players at all. There was one that was a friend of mine that became the first. Anyway, on the clarinet. Let's see.
So how did you get from violin to oboe?
I was in 7th grade at Patrick Henry. Mr. Rush as Patrick Henry and Glemel. Both. He asked one day, he mentioned, I have an instrument here lying around. It's an oboe. Anybody interested? I hadn't the slightest idea of what an oboe was, but I thought he was nice. So I was the only one that raised my hand, and he said, I'll see you after rehearsal, and I'll show you the instrument, which turned out to be a very simple student model of an oboe, Czechoslovakian made. It's called a Kollert with a K. He said, you'll have to wait till I get you, he showed it to me in 3 parts in a little case. You'll have to wait till I get you a reed. And the slightest idea of what he was talking about. I thought, you know, when you look at a clarinet, you don't see the single reed, it's underneath. I thought you just blow through it like that. I didn't know. He said, you'll have to wait till I get you a reed. I found out what a reed was. Reeds are the most important thing about the instrument. Each player has to have his own reed that accommodates his, we call it embouchure, that's the musculature of the lips. Everybody is different. And if you become a professional, you have to make your own, or have, if you're lucky, have somebody make it for you. Anyway, I started not knowing what it was. My mother was not interested necessarily in my being a professional. She just thought it was a nice thing. They had signed a bond to guarantee that we would be responsible for the instrument. My father went along with it. He wasn't too happy. He was a dentist. My father was brilliant. If he had a second chance in life, he would have been a medical doctor. He had a brother-in-law who married one of his sisters, whom he idolized. He thought there was nothing in the world like a medical doctor. And as I was growing up, he kept saying to me, "You're going to be a doctor." And then he would say some complicated paragraph from Gray's Anatomy. I hadn't the slightest, he sort of scared me away. The music became like a refuge for me.
Well, tell me a little bit about what you did for fun as a student at Shaker Heights High School. What do you remember for social?
We used to have a music club. The lady's name who was in charge, we used to meet once a month at someone's home and put on little recitals. Vocalists, pianists, violinists, mainly. Anyway, her name was Mrs. Gunn. She taught Latin. She was, I think, a widow or whatever. Mrs. Gunn, she was our sponsor, whatever you could call her. And we used to meet once a month, and each time in a different home, and put on a nice little recital. And that was a very nice social thing to do, I would say. I'll tell you who was in that club. A couple very fine violinists. One of them went directly from Shaker High School into the Cleveland Orchestra, directly.
Who was that?
Violin, Ernie Cardos, K-A-R-D-O-S. Ernie studied with Joseph Fuchs, who was the concertmaster in the orchestra in the early years, Cleveland Orchestra, 1920s into, I think he was with it up till early 40s. Played under Nikolai Sokolov, who was the original conductor. The orchestra was started by a very lovely lady who found people to sponsor it, Cleveland businessmen. Her name was Adela Prentice Hughes, a wonderful lady. I have her book. We autographed it for my mother. She was very instrumental in starting the orchestra. She used to stand by the glass doors at the back when people parked on the surface parking. As they come in, she would shake hands or greet them personally. She was very hospitable, very personal. I knew her rather well, as did my mother, a nice lady. Let me see, what else?
What were some of your favorite classes or teachers when you were a student at Shaker?
Well, one of them was Mr. Harbert, John Harbert.
What did he teach?
He taught, I believe it was history, if I'm not mistaken. He was a sergeant in World War I. Tough but good, fair. Jack Adams became eventually the high school music director at Shaker.
Wow.
Very nice fellow, very serious, very accomplished. He married Carol. Oh, Jack moved on, eventually became in charge of the whole musical operation at Ohio State.
Big job.
He had a big job. That's a very big job to be in charge of the band at a
Sure.
major university. Very big. The formations and everything. He was a good fellow. Anyway.
Do you want to know how many kids are in the marching band now at Shaker Heights High School?
Tell me.
More than 425.
I knew you were going to say something big. So, didn't I hear recently that they're going to Washington or something?
Think a little farther away. They're going to Spain.
I'm so happy to hear that, because when I came there, they had absolutely nothing.
It's a huge
started from
program
scratch.
now. It's huge.
I'm so glad that they do have that.
They actually have more kids in the Shaker Heights marching band than in the Ohio State marching band.
You know what? When we played, for example, Mayfield High School in those early days in 33, I guess it was, 34, 35 maybe, the Shaker band was very small, no uniforms. We used to sit in the cold weather with our overcoats and caps on and watch the visiting team, perhaps Mayfield High School or something, in uniforms, march. And we were sitting there with overcoats and winter caps. I'm telling you, they've had very humble beginnings. Mr. Jones did his best, but he had next to nothing to work with.
Did you ever play your instrument on the
Actually,
sidelines at the football
It's an
game?
interesting thing. The oboe is very seldom used in a marching band because of the tiny reed.
Yeah.
It's hard to control a tiny
Sure.
reed in march. This, a lot of times they'll put you in the percussion section.
Uh-huh.
What are we
Anyway,
talking about?
I brought you something. You asked me if I would bring you something.
Yes.
I brought you the 1935 grist mill.
Wonderful. You'll see me on the composite senior page as for Oh, it's so nice. I love it. I love Shaker High School. I thought it was tremendous, and it was. Such a nice sociable atmosphere. I remember in between classes when we walked through the hallways to the next class, people smiling and waving. And I belonged to a music club. Listen to this. People that played instruments or sang, and we used to once a month meet. Our supervisor of that club was Mrs. Gunn, Latin teacher, very nice lady. And we would meet at different people's homes each month and have a nice little soiree afterward. And
I think I saw a picture in there of the club that you're talking about.
Who's
Was it called SFAA?
I was just going to say that.
And I don't know what it stands for because it
Shaker
didn't say.
Federation of Allied Artists.
Ah.
What a fancy name.
Uh-huh. I tabbed the page that has your picture on it if you wanted to see that.
It was a nice club. We played for each other. We'd have a little get-together social. I remember being at the home of Martha Joseph. She lived on South Park Boulevard in a mansion. I remember her mother. Her mother's first name was Ray. I can remember her in a nice flowing gown, walking through so stately. Their home had a picture window that went from the 2 stories high. That was one example of where we. Let's see, I see me right here.
That's you.
I don't see anything clearly because of my being legally blind for 37 years. And it's gotten worse. It's the macular degeneration hole has increased. I have a wonderful retinologist, Dr. Huang. Wonderful. He's got enough diplomas to cover any bare spots of the wallpaper tears.
Well, that's the one nice thing about staying in Cleveland is that you have access to some amazing healthcare providers.
I see myself, Robert SFAA, Shaker Federation of Allied Artists. See, it says 3/4, 3rd year and 4th year.
Oh, that's what I didn't know what that meant. Now I understand.
11th and 12th grade.
Sure.
I think that's what.
I bet.
Orchestra 3.
I couldn't find any pictures of the orchestra in there, but there is a picture of the SFAA club.
They were just getting started.
Huh.
There was I remember his name now. He was a violin teacher. Tried to get an orchestra and just had a handful of people. It was pitiful. His name was Bottrell, Mr. Bottrell, violin teacher. Very nice man. 26. Way before.
Does looking at this yearbook, does it remind you about anything from those days, like what kind of cars people used to drive, or the music you listened to on the radio? You know, what was the pop culture like?
Hardly anybody had a car. There was one boy not in the club. I remember his name, Chuck Luthi. He had a brand new Chevrolet. It was 1933, I think. That was something. But no, most people I don't believe drove car. Let me look a little.
So given that you lived in the Fernway neighborhood, you obviously had an easy walk to the high school, so that would
always
help.
had what?
An easy walk to the high school.
We cut through a backyard. There was a very pretty girl, Lockhart or something like that. Dick Warner and she were. Everybody knew they were pals.
I brought something for you, and I don't want to forget to give it to you.
Okay.
So hold on.
All right.
Do you like gifts? Brought a little
Of
gift
course.
for you.
Oh, Shaker, I like that. On the, oh, how nice. Thank you, honey. Okay.
Here, I'll hold the book
take
for
it,
you.
Don't open it. Just tell me what's in it.
Oh, you just take the paper out. You'll be able to see.
I love that SFAA. We had some nice people in that.
I'm sure.
I told you Ernie Carlos went directly into the symphony from high school. And also, he was the concertmaster of the summer pop concerts. Ernie Carlos.
Okay.
Look at this. I look like a Shaker cap. Oh, wonderful.
Try it on. Let's see how it fits you.
Marvelous. I think it'll... it'll be all right.
I'll take a picture of you in it after we're done talking. I can, and I think it's adjustable too. I can adjust it for you.
Good. Something else?
These
What
are
is
some
this?
these are some note cards from the Shaker Schools Foundation.
Wow.
So if you have a little note card you want to send somebody, or have somebody write it out for you, you can send a little
Wonderful.
picture of the
What is-
school. That's a sticker that you can put on your window. It's a window cling, so it doesn't make a mess. You could put it right on your window if you wanted.
Thank you very much for
You're
that.
welcome.
I'll treasure that.
And that's it.
I
I
think
didn't
I
bring
s-
anything else.
Oh, I see a pen, I believe.
Oh, there! I forgot. There is a pen. That's so you can write your note cards out.
What does it say on a shaker?
Yep.
Red and white. The red and white are colors. Proudly may they fly. May we all be worthy. I hope I'm worthy of shaker.
I would say so.
Is there anybody else that you know that has lived as long as I that has gone to shaker?
I don't know of anybody. You might have the title of longest living at the
I'm
moment.
the oldest living retiree of the Cleveland Orchestra.
Are you?
I think ever since the beginning of the creation of the world.